Good morning, family and friends. Well, it's actually afternoon. Life takes precedence sometimes. Had chores to do and had to run into town and some other things. Anyway, finally, we're going to come out here and play with my toy. Just a quick review. People haven't seen. My son gifted me this car in Texas, and we're doing a few little upgrades and tinkering around and doing things we want to do to it, which is fine. Okay, so today, you can see jack stands under there. I'm going to get around the weeds in the old crusty building here. We got the back up on jack stands. We got some tools laid out. Basically, what I'm going to be doing today is we're going to change the rear shocks. I got some air shocks. What's on the car right now are some kind of a stock shock, as you'll see when I crawl under here in a minute. They are shot. They were bouncing more than a basketball, so one way or another we had to address that issue. Now, I have the rear end on a jack too, even though the car is on a jack stand, and this is probably not going to be the ride height. As you can see, the gap in here is pretty big, but I just have it that way right at the moment with on jack stands and a jack under the rear end, so that it's not hanging all the way down at the extension of the shocks. Anyway, in the old days when I was a kid, we used to have them jacked up higher than that with air shocks, set of 50s on the back. I mean, that was just a look. However, this car, we're not going that extreme or that way. It's just when we get all the suspension parts squared around, replace some. I've got new A-arms for the front, new springs, which we will be getting to at some time. They've already arrived. I've been lagging behind a tad, but like I said, life. But we get her going. Anyway, when we get the front all done, we'll adjust the back to make the ride height just basically level is what I want. The way it was before, even though the shocks were bad and the springs that are in it, it sat really low in the rear end. I should have snapped a good picture of it while it was on the ground. My son said the previous owner said he was doing a lowering on it. I'm not real sure why, but everybody has their preference on things they want to do. Anyway, shocks came in a while ago. I haven't got around to it. So today we figured we'd tackle it. Even though it's quite warm out here. It's not real hot, however, the humidity you could cut with a knife. My loving wife bought me a fan. Anyway, if you bear with me while my old body gets down here, we'll try to show you what's going on down here. Anyway, obviously there's a jack. Got it on jack stands. Get in here, turn on the light. Hopefully you can see there's the bottom of the shock. Get up in here with the line out of the way. You can see GM did this same setup on a lot of cars for a lot of years. You just have two bolts up there, require a 1/2-inch socket. They have those clip tabs in there threaded, so if they're all good, all you got to do is pull the bolts out and reinstall them with your new shocks. Here's the springs. As I can see, they are brand new. I'm a little concerned because I may have to be ordering new springs even though these are new. As you saw from outside with the level of car, it's not up very high. However, these springs aren't even sitting in their socket, so they're a little short in my opinion. Usually you have to drop the shock, unbolt it, and pull the rear end down to get a spring in here. This one obviously I think it would almost come out without doing that. However, we'll check that out after we get the shocks mounted. So anyway, I don't have anything to hold a camera. Plus, I don't think you want to watch my old man going slow doing this stuff. So I'm going to stop it, and I'm going to get this shock out, and then we'll check out the new ones. As you can see, you could take the shock off right here. However, they give you new hardware, so there is a bolt back here. I hope you can see it. I just flipped the camera around. It takes a 13/16 socket. We're just going to take it off there and then remove those two, and the shock will come right out. Alrighty, well, we'll do that. We'll see you later. Alrighty, welcome back. As you can see, I got the two shocks out of there. I was a little surprised they expanded like that. Normally when they're shot, they don't do anything. There's a little bit of pressure left on them. However, they weren't doing their job. Also, when you work on cars that other people have worked on, you find interesting things. I just want to lay them two together. If you look right here and look right there, the two spacers are not the same. Don't understand that. Should have either been, should have been either the one or the other. They got mixed and matched, and I found this a little hilarious. If you look right here, this is the one nut that held the one shock on. They used a lug nut. I thought that was a little funny. They actually didn't fit right either. Zoom in there, they messed the threads up on that. However, that's all old, it's gone. Anyway, those are the front springs. You heard me talking about back ones. Those are for the front. Anyway, here's our air shocks. Unboxed them, made sure everything was here. It seems to be. Did air shocks back in the late 70s, early 80s. On my cars, a whole lot of things have not changed since then. These are Monroe's. There's other companies I do believe still make them. This is what I could get locally. Hopefully they're all right. Monroe is supposed to be a good name, so we'll see. As you can see, it comes with some of the hardware. Here's the new ones, which go down there instead of a double nut thing. This end just slides through your shock. You slide that through your frame, your mounting point, put the space. No, actually, I'm sorry. Yeah, you put the shock on. Shock will slide on here, and that'll go back through your frame with a spacer between the shock and your frame, and then the end of the bolt goes through your frame. You put the lock washer and nut on there. I messed that all up, but anyway, you get. It's just a little different style than that. Got your line there, a whole bag of fittings. It comes with directions, obviously, which makes it real easy. It's not difficult to do. However, one thing they have changed from years gone by, I thought was interesting. Found this molded to the back of the car by the license plate. This is, at one time there was air shocks on this car. Here's an old one. This is how I remember them, except this piece was made out of brass. Back in the old day, they went to plastic, but as you can see, there's your air filler where you fill them up. You just bolt that in a location that's you can get to, regardless of where you put it. Some people used to mount them in the trunks, so nobody would let the air out of their shocks as a gag or whatever. I usually just mounted them someplace by the license plate. Anyway, they came in a T like that. You'd have to run a single air line from each shock. along the frame rails and come in from either side, and they would connect to this. As you can see now, they've changed it a little bit. Instead of trying to show the fittings, this diagram right here, they give you a T now, and then you have to hook an air line to that, and then go to your fitting where you put the air in. I'm assuming they did that just for mounting reasons. Plus, I guess it would make it a little easier. You can, with this setup, you could basically run the air line from each shock right up underneath your car, put that T in there, and then just run one line all the way back to wherever you want to have the spot where you put the air in. So I haven't decided which way I'm going to do that. I might do the one airline thing, just less chance of it getting broken or damaged. You have to route them somewhere, obviously, so they're nowhere near your exhaust or through any holes with sharp edges that'll cut them, because it is, just a plastic tube. They used to work great in the old days. Never had a problem with them, like I said, unless you melted a line. They held air. We'll see how the new ones do when I put these in. Hopefully that all goes well. Anyway, that's the setup for those. We're going to install them, and we're going to see how that spring deal works out that I showed you earlier before I removed the old ones. Don't know if I'm going to get to that today. I've got to go drop my truck off. Had a recall for something with the transmission. So I don't know if I'm going to get to putting them back in this evening or not. I may. If not, we'll do that tomorrow morning. Alright. Like I said before, I don't have no way to hold a camera under the car. Well, I don't have a camera with my phone. Install them's pretty much the same way as I was showing you under the car. You bolt that up to the top. Obviously, your air thing on the side here, you want to keep them inboard, facing toward the inside of the car. Less chance of them hitting anything else. I was wrong about the upper bolts. Like I said, in the old days, these would go through, and up in the frame there was one of those slip things with a nut on it, so you didn't have to worry about trying to get a wrench up on top of your frame in there. I do believe that's the way they came from the factory. Obviously, there was none on this car. They just had bolts and nuts, which work fine. However, it just makes it a lot more difficult to get them off, because you can't see them, and you got to pretty much feel around up there and find the nut or the bolt, whichever one they decided to install up on top. Put a wrench on it so you can tighten them up. This particular car, they decided to do one side one way, one side the other way. So I had bolts coming down on the one side and nuts on the bottom by the shocks. The other side was, they did it the other way. So anyway, that's how it is. Yeah, I guess they were in a hurry. Let me grab this. You see this little strap here. When they come packaged, this strap stretches to the bottom, keeps them compressed while they're in packaging until you get them, and then you remove this. Apparently they just cut it off and mounted it in there anyway. Okay, so that'll be it for now. I'll probably get all these in, get the wiring. I'll crawl back under there and show you what I did with the hoses and where I run them to. We'll put some air in them and see if they work. All right, catch you next time.